Students who graduate with a faith that lasts graduate with an ability to verbalize their faith. And that might sound simpler than you think. It might be like, sure, they can talk about their faith, but I want you to try a little experiment with me. First, I want you to think about the questions to these answer yourself, and I want to see if you can answer them. First, what is Christianity? Second, what is the gospel? The good news of Jesus Christ. Can you define those terms? Can you yourself be able to describe what Christianity is? If somebody were to come up to you and ask you, so what is this Christianity? Or what is this good news about Jesus? Or what is the gospel? I hear it on TV, I see TV shows make fun of it. What is it? What we find is that students who aren't able to put their faith into those types of words and be able to talk about who Jesus is, who Jesus was, the Bible is full of scripture that talks about the gospel and the good news. Those are very reoccurring themes in scripture. They are very reoccurring themes in the spiritual journey. And so a student who is able to answer those questions for themselves, not just some parrot-like response where we train the students, where our youth ministries and our children ministries just train them with the right answers, but students who aren't able to give a response that means something to them, that has something to do with their personal life, those are the students who unfortunately walk away from high school with a faith that isn't really internalized. And there's a difference between an internalized faith and an externalized faith. An externalized faith, that would be the example of the students who show all the right stuff. They are the students who do good things. They're the students who stay out of trouble, or they're able to make right decisions. Everything looks good on the outside, like an Easter egg. It's emptied, or it's empty on the inside, but it's decorated on the outside. It looks the right thing, but inside it's hollow and there's nothing really there, so that when there's pressure exerted on it, it collapses. Because what's going to happen is they are going to graduate out of our children ministries, out of our student ministries, out of high school. They're going to go out into the real world. They're going to find a job. They're going to go to college, and there's going to be these external pressures. And so students who graduate with just an externalized faith, meaning that they do all the right things, they know all the right answers, but it hasn't really penetrated their heart and hasn't penetrated their identity, those students are the students most likely to cave under external pressures. And so we get back to this, well, what then is internalized faith? Because it can be hard to distinguish the two, because a student with internalized faith, will also be looking the same as an externalized faith student, because they both will be hopefully exhibiting the right behaviors and patterns, things like praying regularly, reading the Bible, going to small groups, serving, giving of their time, giving of their money, giving of their talents. It can look the same on the outside, but one of the main indicators with whether or not a student has internalized their faith has to do with their own ability to explain to you, to explain to others what that faith is inside of them. So what I would highly suggest is to have these types of conversations now while your students are still with you, while you still have a middle school student or a high school student, before they go out and have to meet those external pressures, and to start talking about it. I would ask those very questions right there. What is Christianity? Just have your students ask them in the car, what do you think Christianity means? What does Christianity mean to you? Can you explain Christianity to somebody else? It's okay to ask those kinds of questions to your students, to ask them, so what is the gospel? And the gospel, again, is a very Christianized term. It might be something that they have a hard time comprehending, but you might ask it in terms of, so what did Jesus come to talk to us about? And if you're new at this, if this is just brand new stuff on your spiritual journey, what I would really do, and even if you've been down it for a while, I would open the Bible. I would go to Romans chapter 1 in the Bible, and I would look at verses 1 through 17. Romans 1 through 17. Because that is where the Apostle Paul, one of the prolific writers and spreaders of Jesus' words and Jesus' message, that's where he takes the time to explain what the good news is, what this gospel is, and what it means for us. So that would be your challenge this week, is to just think about, okay, what do those mean to me, first of all? What is the gospel? How would I define that? How would I explain that to somebody else? How would I explain Christianity to someone else? How would I explain Jesus' role in that to somebody else? And then initiate a conversation with your student and just ask them. Again, it's okay to ask these kinds of questions. What does the gospel mean to you? What does Christianity? What is it? What does it mean to you? Okay, how do you live that out in your life?